Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Amethyst Dream Witch, and today I'm going to be talking about moon water, magical properties of moon water. I did do a general, very small general piece about this in the magical waters video, but I thought moon water can be quite not complicated, but there's different aspects to it. So the different phases that the moon is in provide different energies. So, the waning can be good for decreasing energy in a spell. I'll go through all this, don't worry. But yeah, there's the different phases, and obviously the different signs that the moon is in will again add in extra different energy. So let's get started with the dark or the new moon. So the dark moon is the night of the full moon. It's the night of the new moon, where there's no moon in the sky. You can't see even a sliver of the moon as it comes to the end of its waning cycle or starts the waxing cycle. It's just dark. New moon is like the day before, day after. Dark is day of. And again, this water is collected during those 3 days. So day before, day after, it's the new moon. Day of, you could call it dark moon water. It's useful for binding, hexing, cursing, if you're into that. It's good for justice. That's the dark moon at any rate. The new moon is good for a new start, a fresh start, a new beginning, cleansing, clarity. But also the new moon is the time when we tend to set our intentions for the next, 4 weeks, 6 months to a year. And so we can use it with setting intentions. But yeah, no, that's the dark and new moon. Next we've got the waxing crescent. So this is a couple of days after the new moon to up to a week after the new moon. And again, this is water that you can pop into a jar and put outside or on a windowsill. Just easiest way, because that tap water, you can drink it. You can use glass jars, you can use plastic bottles if those are what you have. Use whatever is to hand. There is some people will say, oh, you shouldn't use plastic because it's man-made, it's got all these chemicals and whatnot in it. If that's all you have, you can still collect moon water. Don't let anyone tell you you have to use glass. I've used glass, I've used plastic, I've done both. You can use either. So anyway, back to the waxing crescent. Waxing crescent water is useful for growth because it, the moon's just starting that growth, starting to grow to the full moon. It's a good time for planning. So if you want to make, if you tend to drink a lot of tea when you're planning a project, a dream, you can use that water to make teas that will help you to continue with that planning. taking action, setting intentions, motivation as well, and attraction and success, because those are all things that you want to carry forward as the moon grows. About a week after the new moon, you've got the first quarter. So that's when the moon is literally half. Can last 2 to 3 days. It's good for creativity, divination, calming spells, but also action spells. Waxing gibbous. So that's between the first quarter and the full moon. And it's good for refining, observing, good health and momentum, because it's, you know, it's building, it's still building to the full moon, which is next. Full moon, it's about 2 weeks after the new moon. I say 2 weeks, it can be 12 days, it can be 13 days, it could be 14, it could be 15, because obviously the lunar cycle is about 29 and a half days. So every so often there's a little bit of a hiccup. But full moon is good for amplifying, you know, because it's very powerful. Full moons are powerful things. Strength, love, protection, anything spiritual, to strengthen health, to achieve dreams, for power, success, for charging items. So if you want to charge, I don't know, a wand with a particular intention, you can do that. Same with crystals. But full moon water is also good for clarity and for healing. Waning gibbous. So again, with the full moon, going back to the full moon for a second, the full moon can last 2 to 4 days. Usually I would go by this rule of thumb. There's the day before, day of, and day after, which is the strongest full moon energy. And if I'm going to collect any water, it will be then. The waning gibbous is between that full moon and the third quarter. It's good for undoing things, introspection, cord cuttings, weight loss, long-lasting issues, because it's, you know, the waning gibbous is at the start of that decreasing. It's good for stress relief, banishing, fighting bad habits or addictions, and it's also good for fighting negativity. So it'll decrease the energy of negativity, increase the positivity, and yeah, just good stuff. Third quarter, it's about a week after the full moon, week before the new moon. It's the opposite of the first quarter. It's useful for breaking bad habits, banishing, breaking curses, all that kind of stuff. Then we've got the waning crescent. So this is the last week or so before the new moon. Useful for releasing, letting go, banishing, balancing, success, wisdom, atonement, and introspection. Now that's the lunar cycle in moon water. If you don't want to, you know, have to worry about whether it's a waxing crescent, a waxing gibbous, whether there's first quarter phase, you don't have to. If you know that it's the full moon next week, you know it's the waxing cycle. It's the waxing part of the cycle. So you can just use those energies. So you can use the new moon, waxing, full moon, waning energies. Again, you can make this as complicated or as simple as you want. I'm merely presenting options. So new moon, justice, setting intentions, new beginnings, new starts. The waxing moon is that 2-week period between the new moon and the full moon. It's good for boosting strength, increasing power, fertility, wealth, luck, business, relationship, and health spells. It's the full moon, 2 weeks after the new moon. It's good for illumination, clarity, and truth spells. And then the waning moon is that 2 weeks between the full moon and the new moon. At any time, it's good for banishing, cord cutting, and reducing problems. Now, there are 2 other energies that I want to mention in this little segment, because we've also got eclipse energy. We do also have supermoon and micromoons. Micromoons are less well known because they are small moons. It's where the moon is furthest from the earth, and so it appears a little bit smaller in the sky. It's not quite its normal size. Then we've got the supermoon. Supermoon, it's like the closest it could be to earth, and so everything has a bit extra power. So usually the full moon is known as a supermoon. So if you really want to collect powerful full moon water and there's a supermoon coming up, they usually, I want to say there's 2 lots a year. I could be very, very wrong. It's usually sort of July, August, September time is what I call supermoon season. If there's going to be any, that's when it's going to be. And you can collect water at that time that is extra powerful. You know, because it's closer, so there's, you know, there's more power coming at it. So it's literally just that. That's the only reason I mentioned the supermoon. I hadn't made any notes on it, so I'm literally going by memory. But yes, you can have supermoon water if you want to. But you've also got the eclipses, the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. And again, you can collect that water and use it in spell work. Lunar eclipses, they happen twice a year. I'm doing this video in March. We've just had an eclipse. We've got another one coming up. So eclipse season currently. 6 months time we'll have another eclipse season. Again, they're opposites. There's 2 of them and they're opposites. They happen at opposite times. But they're good for big changes. Would not recommend using lunar eclipse water for small changes. Use it for big ones. Leaving behind things that you don't need to carry anymore. Releasing spells. Usually things that you'd rather not leave behind, but you know you should. Solar eclipse is like the lunar eclipse, only there's sun energy mixed in. Useful for rejuvenation, introspection, destroying, concealing, truth revealing, transformation, rebirth, renewal, reflection, and shadow work. And again, because it's like the lunar eclipse, it's good for change. But big changes, not small ones. Although you could say that depending on the kind of eclipse you'll experience, it can have an effect on the kind of changes you could use it for. So if you'll only see a partial eclipse, it's not a full eclipse, so you could use it for the smaller changes. But if it's a full total eclipse, you could use it for big ones, big changes. So that's all the moon waters. Hope that's useful. I think I keep mentioning, but I'm going to say it again. When collecting new moon, full moon waters particularly, they are going to have, as well as the full moon energies, you're going to have the energy of the sign the moon is in. As an example, the full moon in Libra, it's got Libra energies as well as the full moon. So you could use it for anything Libra, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope that's useful for you. I hope it's informative. If there's anything you'd like me to go into more detail about, or something that you'd like me to cover that I haven't already, please do let me know, and I will sort that out. I hope everyone stays safe, stays well. Blessings to you all.